Always good to talk a little female boxing with one of the really fastest rising boxers in the country. If you look at the rankings all over, she is one of the top 10 bantamweights in the world and number 1 in the country, Noemi Bosques. And Noemi, it's always good to touch base with you and to catch up. And I'll tell you, the last time we spoke, you were not only getting your feet wet a little bit, but you have been really active over the last year or so, making a lot of noise. And first and foremost, congratulations on the success, and we appreciate you jumping on board for a couple moments.
Sure, anytime.
So let's talk a little bit about, no, my pleasure, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on, because you were extremely, I know you mentioned you wanted to be active in 2014, and you've had 8 fights in 2014, and only the unanimous decision loss to Kenia Enriquez was really the only blemish. Other than that, you beat Cordova, you beat Coleman, you beat Anderson. You had some real big wins. And I know you mentioned that being active in 2014 was the key. With that being said, you know, just kind of reflect on last year and give yourself an overall assessment of what you were able to do, and how do you feel going forward?
Well, last year was actually a really good year. As you and I had spoke before, I definitely needed a busy year to kind of get in the swing of things, because the first 2 years of boxing were very rough. So last year there was no excuse. It was grind time, and thank God that there was promoters around that were giving me the opportunity. And last year was really just a learning year. I mean, I was getting training from whichever coach I could get it from. I was out hustling tickets, so promoters would want me on their show. I was taking pretty much any fights that they gave to me, training myself, of course, selling the tickets myself, doing everything. So it was definitely a learning year for me, 2014. So thank God everything was pretty successful. Like you said earlier, my only blemish was versus top-ranked Kenia Enriquez, who I think right now she's ranked like top 5 in the world. She's an amazing fighter. I had fought with her, but it was a great learning year.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I mean, she's very up-and-coming 21-year-old. I believe she's second, 4th in the world flyweight, of course, the native of Mexico. And you're right, that was the only blemish. But conversely, how about you talk about a big-time win? I mean, I thought the fight against Chantel Cordova, because, A, I believe that was your first 10-round affair, but you kind of dominated that fight from the get-go, and we talked a little bit about your style and sometimes how you want to feel them out or you want to come straight at them, but I thought in that fight, not only did you work the body, but you kind of dictated the fight from the get-go, and you dominated across the board. And I thought, really, if you talk about a signature win thus far in your career, to go and to beat a top 20 flyweight, super flyweight at the time in the world, who, by the way, is just, she'll probably be fighting, I believe, for the UBF World Female Flyweight title in March, from what I was told, against Tyrecia Douglas. So the fact that you beat her and she's got an opportunity to fight for title, A, it tells you a title shot for you is right down the line. But talk a little bit about that fight and that performance.
Versus Chantel Cordova?
Yes.
I thought it was a nice step up. She had more experience than I. I was kind of like the underdog in that fight. I definitely, when I was training for her, it was understanding that I was going up against somebody who has fought in order to achieve world titles already, and I think was already world champion one time. Mm-hmm. So I had that respect, I had knowledge of that in my mind, and I'll train for it. So it was kind of like a test for myself, and I'm very happy with how it went. I thought that she would be maybe just a little more aggressive or take advantage of certain opportunities a little better than she did. I think it was a good fight. It was a technical fight, you know. Hats off to her. She did her thing. She just fell off a little short. I think there was mention of maybe there possibly being a rematch in the future. Yeah. And if she does get a hold of these titles, I mean, I would love to have a rematch with her again, because I'll take those belts too.
Well, no, listen, I think it's a fair point, because she won a vacant NABF title. She fought again to defend it, and that came out to be a draw against Gloria Salas. So you're absolutely right. The fact that you have that win on your resume, and a lot of times when I talk to a lot of the female boxers around the country, the one thing they always tell me is, Rich, look, it doesn't take 20-something odd fights to fight for a belt. It really doesn't, to be quite honest with you. You can have 4 or 5 under your resume and you have an opportunity. With that being said, 2015, it is upon us. Is there any talk of your next fight? If so, when would it possibly be? Is there anyone on your radar?
The next scheduled one is March 13th here in Tampa with All Stars Promotion. They're the ones that do the recordings for Amazon.
Okay.
So that's the next possible one. I know there's been some negotiations in there along with other promoters. There's a few of them that are interested now, possibly because of the ticket sales and whatnot. But as far as an opponent, I believe they're in the process of negotiating with a few girls right now. I'm really not even quite sure who it is yet. As far as someone being on my radar, I mean, I'm top 10 in the world. I would like to start kind of facing some of my what do you call it, from some of the other challengers.
Sure.
Top 10. I understand that these promoters, since I'm not signed with any of them, it's kind of cost me to bring a lot of girls from other countries. So I know that they're not really too crazy about me not being signed with them and them spending this kind of money on opponents. So that's, the politics behind boxing. My next opponent varies pretty much I'm at the promoter's mercy.
Yeah.
So we'll find out.
No, it's a fair point. I mean, there's certainly, on paper, girls like Cristina Ruiz, Nadia Feliciano, Jennifer Santiago, who is a tough fighter out of Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, called her fight against Shireen Thomas in Canada, which was an absolute bloodbath. I mean, those are like I said, and yourself. I mean, you're talking about, the crop of the creme de la crop in the bantamweight division, and then ultimately, you look at top 10 in the world. And obviously, it's a situation where I think a lot of it has to do with timing, and you kind of hit the nail right on the head. The fact that you might have to bring in some of these girls. I mean, if you're talking about, say, an Irma Garcia, you bring her over from Mexico. A Rivas from Mexico, Carolina Rodriguez from Chile. I mean, you got to have the venue, you got to have the backing, and right. It's tough, and I know it's something that we talked about the last time we spoke. So with that being said, you were so active in 2014, and I do believe that female boxing had a very good 2014, and now there's talk with the Olympics about the weight classes. They're going to be a little more open. So we're seeing a more influx with female boxers on the amateur ranks. Two, before I let you get out of here, A, what's your assessment right now on the state of boxing? And the second one is, and we'll go back to our original conversation months ago, what do you girls need to do to really get this sport to where you guys believe it can go?
I'm really excited about the direction that women's boxing is heading towards. There's definitely a lot more recognition. There's a lot more people that are familiar with names. And that's always really exciting to me because even just last year, like, the only woman boxer name that everyone knows is Ali. Mm-hmm. And why? Because her father was Ali, not because they really studied her, watched her, So now it just seems like, at least in this area, I can't speak for all areas, but people are starting to be a little more observant of who's who in the women's boxing world. And then you just mentioned a little while ago how the Olympics are getting ready to take on more weight divisions and whatnot. I mean, I'm really happy with it. I know it's a long time coming. It's a long progress, and a lot of these girls get impatient. But as long as everyone is doing their part, meaning, okay, unfortunately, being boxers isn't only about fighting. Unfortunately, it should be. Everything about it should be that way. We should just focus on our craft. I agree 100%. Unfortunately, just focusing on our craft is not going to make us explode. Fighters, along with NFL players, along with baseball players, along with actors, we are entertainment. We are entertainment. We just happen to bleed and sweat, and that's how we entertain. My advice to a lot of these women, a lot of these people trying to, go to the deep part of the question, would be you have to, okay, whatever your character is, and I know it's kind of like a pain in the butt to have to focus on all this other stuff. You should just fight. You have to start seeing yourself as more of entertainment. Be the best in fighting, but have something special about you that's going to stick out in everybody's mind. Every time you say, oh, that's that girl with the red and yellow hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or that's the girl with the sexy bikinis on every time she, you know what I mean? Or that's the one, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be something that sticks out, not just to be a great fighter. How many of these great fighters go unnoticed? And they're better than the ones we see on TV. You know, they're great fighters, but you have to have some kind of something that sticks out, a character. I don't know. It's easy for me to say and hard to do, but it just really boils down to the entertainment value.
In a perfect world, when you look at other networks, and you know, maybe you look at a Univision or Telefatoro, and we'll give you girls an opportunity to be on a card, headline a card, even be a main event, which is, I think, it's great. Obviously, we talked about female boxing extremely popular overseas, in Europe, popular in Canada as well. But ultimately, what would be your message out there to some of the major networks and some of the promoters to say, hey, look, there's a bunch of talented girls all over the country that are doing the 9 to 5, raising the kids, have the family, go to school, putting in the time in the gym, you know, doing whatever they need to do to put fannies in the seats, as we say. You know, what's your message to them to try to get on the ball a little bit more and give you guys the more attention and more exposure that you guys have worked for?
You know, I would like to let the networks know, just pay attention a little bit. Just pay attention. There's definitely a lot of us that are making some noise out there. All we need is something like a network behind us where we can work together and build. You know what I mean? And one of us can become like the next Ronda Rousey. Like, Ronda Rousey is a fighter like all of us. The difference between us and her is she's got a big name like UFC behind her, so now she's getting airtime. You know, she's not doing anything different than what we're doing. She's training just as hard as we're training. She's beautiful like a lot of us, but she's special because the network's seen her, the UFC seen her, and they put their brand behind her. That's all we need. If these networks could just have one girl, just one girl each, then I mean they'll have one, you know, I don't know, ABC have one, whatever. I think just starting there, it can be the starter. So I think Ronda Rousey right now is like the most popular fighter, period, or something like that. I think I heard she's got some of the highest views, even out of the men.
Yep, and most marketable, yes.
Yes. So imagine, okay, that's just one fighter that a huge network got behind, okay? She just got the highest ratings or whatever. Can you imagine if one network got behind one girl? I mean, I feel like we could totally take over. I really do, and not taking anything away from the men, but women are some of the most passionate beings, especially in the fight sport, because there's more to us than just the fight sport. We're proving so much, not just to everybody, but to ourselves, because we just have that kind of mentality. We're competitive like that. And I think, you know, I'm hoping that a lot of these other networks take some, what do you call that? They learn something from the UFC and maybe do the same thing. It costs nothing to get one girl behind, you know, with your network. Nothing.
Sure.
It means everything to us and even a whole sport of women. And look, you can have another top-ranked, high-ranked, a higher rating, I can't get it out, higher rated people under you.
Yeah, and you take that model business and you make it successful. Obviously, you translate it into the female boxing game. No, I agree 100%. Listen, before I let you get out of here, if you want to plug anything you're doing on social media, Facebook, Twitter, website, go have it as always.
Yes. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, everything at Noemi Bosques. NOEMIBOSQUES. I'm all over. I love hearing from everybody. I almost always respond. I love it. Please follow me.
And if you can't figure it out, it's easy. Just pretend someone doesn't win an Emmy. No Emmy.
No Emmy. That's right. No Emmy award. You remember?
That's right. Always have a good memory.
I'm going to keep using it.
Hey, listen, appreciate it as always. Thanks for jumping on Journeymen Boxing, and we certainly look forward to seeing you in March, and keep up the great work. Best of luck going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
There you have it. Noemi Bosques joining us again for a couple moments. She'll be fighting again March 13th in Tampa. Later this week, we'll be joined by Shelly Vincent to talk about her career as well. She's a 7th-ranked super bantamweight in the world. Our interview with Noemi was brought to you by Casanova Boxing Gloves and, of course, the AC Pal. Check them out online. As always, don't forget to check us out at www.journeymenboxing.com for our daily Double Jab radio podcast interviews, as well as our video of the week. For more boxing news, check out journeymenboxing.com. From the Journeymen Boxing Studios, I'm Rich Quinones. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, RichQ. Please follow our great exclusive photographer, Sheree Shagogi, at @Shagogi as well on Twitter for all your ringside photos. Everyone have a good night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow right back here from the Journeymen Boxing Studios.